In the dim glow of a flickering street lamp, Elias Thorne trudged home from his graveyard shift at the warehouse. The year was 2025. But for Elias, time had frozen somewhere in his 20s when dreams still seemed attainable. Now, at 45, his life felt like a cruel joke scripted by an indifferent universe. Every step on the cracked sidewalk echoed his resentment. Why me? Why always me? Elias had grown up in a small Rust Belt town in Ohio, the kind where factories hummed like heartbeats until they didn't. His father, a steelworker, had lost his job when Elias was 10, plunging the family into a cycle of debt and despair. "Life ain't fair, son," his dad would slur over cheap beer, "but you gotta keep swinging." Elias took that to heart, excelling in school despite the hand-me-down clothes and empty lunchboxes. He earned a scholarship to a state university, majoring in engineering, visions of innovation dancing in his head. But life, that capricious thief, had other plans. In his junior year, his mother was diagnosed with cancer. The treatments drained their savings, and Elias dropped out to work 2 jobs, one at a diner, flipping burgers until his hands blistered, and another stocking shelves at night. "It's temporary," he told himself, watching classmates graduate and land cushy positions in tech firms. His mother fought valiantly for 2 years before passing, leaving Elias with a mountain of medical bills and a father who drowned his grief in alcohol until he joined her in the grave. By then, Elias was 25, adrift in a sea of regret. He married Sarah, his high school sweetheart, who saw potential in his weary eyes. They moved to Chicago for a fresh start. Elias found work as a mechanic, fixing cars for people who drove models he'd never afford. Sarah worked as a nurse's aide, her shifts overlapping his, leaving them like ships passing in the night. They dreamed of a house, kids, stability. But infertility treatments, another unfair blow, ate away their savings. "Maybe it's not meant to be," Sarah whispered one night, tears staining her pillow. Elias's resentment simmered like a pot on low heat. Why did his old classmates post pictures from European vacations on social media while he scraped by? Why did the warehouse promote younger, less experienced workers over him, citing team fit as the reason? "It's not fair," he'd mutter to himself in the break room, staring at his calloused hands. The world seemed rigged against men like him, honest, hardworking, but invisible. One rainy Tuesday in September, Elias's boss called him into the office. "Budget cuts, Eli. Nothing personal." The layoff slip felt like a death sentence. At 45, with a resume full of dead-end jobs, who would hire him? He drove home in silence, the wipers slapping rhythmically against the windshield, mimicking his pounding heart. Sarah was waiting, her face etched with worry. "We'll figure it out," she said, hugging him tightly. But Elias pulled away, his anger bubbling over. "Figure it out? Like we figured out the bills? The house we lost to foreclosure? The kids we couldn't have?" His voice cracked. "Life's not fair, Sarah. It's a goddamn scam." That night, he couldn't sleep. He wandered the apartment, a cramped 2-bedroom in a rundown building where the heat sputtered and the neighbors argued through thin walls. Photos on the mantel mocked him, their wedding day, beaming smiles, a family vacation to the Grand Canyon, back when hope was abundant. Why me? The question looped in his mind like a broken record. And next morning, Elias decided he needed air. He grabbed his jacket and headed to the park, a patch of green amid the urban sprawl. Benches lined the paths, occupied by joggers, dog walkers, and the occasional homeless person. He sat on one, watching leaves swirl in the autumn breeze. A man in a tailored suit hurried by, phone glued to his ear, barking orders. Elias envied him, the confidence, the success. What did I do wrong? As the sun climbed higher, an old woman shuffled over and sat beside him. She was in her 70s, with silver hair pinned back and eyes that held stories. "Rough day?" she asked, her voice gentle. Elias glanced at her, surprised. "Rough life," he replied bitterly. She nodded, unwrapping a sandwich from her bag. "Want half? It's turkey." He hesitated but accepted. As they ate in silence, she spoke. "Name's Clara. Lost my husband young. Raised 3 kids alone. Worked as a seamstress till my fingers gave out. Life kicked me plenty." Elias snorted. "Kicked? It stomped on me. Dropped out of college for my mom. Lost jobs. No kids. No breaks. Everyone else gets ahead. Why not me?" Clara chewed thoughtfully. "Fairness is a myth, son. Like Santa Claus for grown-ups. But wallowing, that's a choice." He bristled. "Easy for you to say. Is it? My eldest son died in a car crash at 20. Drunk driver walked away unscathed. Unfair? You bet. But I kept going for the others." Elias stared at the ground, her words piercing his armor. "So what? Just accept it?" "No, fight smarter. I volunteered at a shelter after. Helped folks worse off. Gave me purpose." Their conversation stretched into the afternoon. Clara shared tales of resilience, how she learned to paint in her 60s, selling pieces at local markets, how she mentored young mothers struggling like she had. Elias opened up about his engineering dreams, buried under years of survival. "Start small," she advised. "Community college classes, online courses. You're not done yet." As she left, Clara pressed a crumpled business card into his hand. "A local support group for the unemployed. Come if you want. No judgments." Elias pocketed it, watching her go. For the first time in years, a spark flickered in his chest. Not hope exactly, but curiosity. Back home, Sarah was cooking dinner, the aroma of spaghetti filling the air. "Where were you?" she asked, concern lacing her tone. "Park. Met an old lady. Made me think." They ate together, really talked for the first time in months. Elias confessed his deepest fears, that he was a failure, that life had singled him out for punishment. Sarah listened, then shared her own burdens, the guilt over their infertility, the exhaustion from her job. "We're in this together, Eli. It's not just your unfairness." That night, he lay awake, but the thoughts were different. Instead of rage, he pondered Clara's words. The next day, he dusted off his old laptop and searched for free online courses. MIT OpenCourseWare had engineering modules. He enrolled in one, his fingers trembling on the keys. Weeks turned into months. Elias attended the support group, meeting others with similar stories. Veterans overlooked, single parents scraping by, immigrants chasing the American dream only to find it elusive. Sharing his pain diluted it, made it bearable. He landed a part-time gig at an auto shop, using skills from his mechanic days, while studying at night. But unfairness didn't vanish overnight. One evening, scrolling social media, he saw a former classmate's post. A promotion to CEO, complete with yacht photos. The old bitterness surged. "Why him?" he growled, slamming the laptop shut. Sarah found him on the balcony, staring at the city lights. "Because life's a lottery, Eli. Some win big, some don't. But you're building something now." He sighed. "It's slow. Feels pointless. Pointless is giving up. Remember our trip to the canyon? We hiked that trail, even when it rained. Got soaked, but the view." Elias smiled faintly. Worth it. Their life began to shift, incrementally. Elias completed his first course, acing the quizzes. He started a blog, anonymously venting about life's inequities, but weaving in tips for others. Readers responded, sharing their stories. It wasn't fame, but connection. One crisp winter day, Clara called, the number from the card. "Heard you're studying. Proud of you." They met at the park again. She looked frailer, but her spirit shone. "Unfairness is the soil, son. What you plant in it matters." Elias nodded. "I'm planting." Spring brought change. Elias applied for a scholarship to finish his degree. To his shock, he got it. Partial, but enough. Sarah beamed as he showed her the letter. "See, a break." But life, ever the trickster, tested him again. Sarah fell ill. A routine check revealed a lump. Breast cancer, early stage. The diagnosis hit like a freight train. "Not again," Elias whispered in the doctor's office. The treatments were grueling. But this time, they weren't alone. The support group rallied, meals delivered, rides to appointments. Elias juggled work and classes, his resentment fueling determination rather than despair. "I won't let it win," he told Sarah during chemo sessions, holding her hand. As she recovered, Elias reflected on his journey. Life was still unfair. The rich got richer, the lucky sailed through. But he saw glimmers. A neighbor's kid he tutored in math, who aced a test. Sarah's laughter returning. His own diploma, earned at 46. One evening, walking home from class, Elias passed the warehouse. It loomed like a ghost from his past. He paused, staring. "You didn't break me," he murmured. At home, Sarah greeted him with a hug. "How was it?" "Good. Challenging, but good." They sat on the couch planning a modest vacation, a road trip, nothing fancy. As they talked, Elias realized the unfairness hadn't vanished. It had transformed. It was the forge that tempered him, the shadow that defined the light. Years later, at 50, Elias graduated with honors. He landed a job at a small engineering firm, designing sustainable tech. It wasn't glamorous, but it was his. Sarah, cancer-free, pursued nursing certification. They adopted a rescue dog, naming her Hope, cliché but fitting. Elias still felt twinges of envy seeing billionaires in the news or old friends' successes. But he channeled it into advocacy, speaking at community events about resilience in an unequal world. "Life's not fair," he'd say, echoing his father, but adding, "But you can tilt the scales." In quiet moments, he'd think of Clara, who had passed peacefully the previous year. Her words lingered. Wallowing's a choice. He chose otherwise. A man who once felt crushed by unfairness now stood taller, scars and all. Life's lottery might be rigged, But Elias had learned to play his own game, one of persistence, connection, and quiet defiance. And in that, he found a fairness of his own making.